We've both lost significant weight eating carnivore. We were like 30 pounds.
We're both at about 30 pounds.
I was about 30 pounds.
Yeah.
That's interesting because somehow losing all of that weight, we managed to also get stronger and muscles got a little bit bigger and more toned.
Well, a warm welcome to you all. This video is about why carnivore works. It's the weight loss edition. So let's talk about weight loss. Why does carnivore work?
Is it you just eat way fewer calories?
Perhaps. Is that it?
End of video. But I'm guessing that most of our viewers would go, wait a minute, hold up.
The thing that prompted this whole video was me seeing someone asking about how is it that I'm eating more calories and more fat and I'm losing weight? I don't understand this.
Yeah, or some people are like, I can't eat that much meat and yet I'm not losing weight. Which makes the calorie, right? We've seen that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we've actually seen Kelly Hogan's had community members who, when they tracked it, found out they were eating 500, 600 calories and weren't losing weight.
Yes.
Because their metabolism completely slowed way down.
Yep.
So it isn't the whole story.
No, it is not. Now, for me, when I started doing carnivore, I was intensely focused on the insulin. So I had been diagnosed with some insulin resistance. My doctor was trying to work with me on that. And so I came into carnivore looking to lower my carbs even more and also lower my insulin.
You had started with insulin with intermittent fasting.
Right. I'd first come at it with intermittent fasting. I was experiencing some benefits from doing a time restricted eating window and fasting the rest of the day. Yet my insulin was not allowing me to release any weight.
So explain insulin's role.
So insulin.
J.J. Fredrickson Bickman.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I had come across this more after I'd studied what Ben Bickman has done and what Jason Fung has done in their work. And basically, insulin is a hormone that helps us keep our blood sugar regulated. So when we eat a lot of carbohydrates, our blood, there's something about our blood.
Our blood just gets stuffed with rice and breadcrumbs, and it doesn't flow too good.
No. So when we eat carbohydrates, it raises our blood sugar. But our blood can only handle 1 teaspoon of glucose at a time. So the insulin takes the rest of that blood sugar, that rest of that glucose, and moves it into our liver and our fat stores for storage. When we have higher insulin, we are in fat storage mode, basically, glucose storage mode, and ready to gain weight. So we have to get our insulin down enough so that our body is not in that storage mode.
Because otherwise it can't pull fat from fat stores.
That's right.
And use it for energy.
Because ultimately, when we're trying to lose weight, that is what we want to do, is release our own fat stores and burn that fat for fuel rather than burning glucose for fuel.
So we have to get the insulin under control.
So we have to get insulin lowered. And the carnivore diet is excellent at doing that because we are eating almost zero carbohydrates. So our blood sugars are staying very level, and we don't have to have insulin come in, raise itself to clear out the glucose in our blood.
And then over time, because we're not having carbs, we become fat adapted.
And what does that mean?
It's how we're using our fat for energy for all of our body functions and moving around and doing exercise and living life, with the exception of some glucose needed by the brain, which is produced in sufficient quantities by the liver.
Yeah.
Our livers become ketone generating factories, which is also something we use for energy and one that our brain loves. So that's one reason why carnivore works for weight loss.
And this is the hormonal effect. It's not about calories so much when you look at it through that lens of insulin. It's more about that hormone of insulin and all the other hormones that are downstream of insulin as well, including thyroid.
So another reason that it works for weight loss is through reducing inflammation. And do you remember we did a whole entire video about why carnivore works? Inflammation reduction.
That's true. Yes. Yes.
Which I will link somewhere on the screen.
The glucose in our blood actually attracts water. It's a carbohydrate. So that water causes cells to stretch, and that's inflammation, is those stretchy cells.
When you go keto or carnivore, we always hear that the initial weight loss is just water weight loss.
Yeah.
But there is no such thing as just water weight loss. That is really valuable water to be shed.
Yes. It's not only, sure, you're not tapping into your fat cells yet. You're not releasing the fat like we just talked about. Release the kraken, release the fat. But you are letting go of that extra water, which is great for an ego boost, a mood boost, right? Like, and this is working. But you're also not stretching those cells so much and creating that achiness, that inflammation. Puffiness. It's all going
I think
down.
a lot of gut bloat is that style of inflammation.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of that decreases very rapidly when you eliminate all of the toxic carbs and vegetables. Protein, which we eat in a large quantity when we're carnivore, actually helps us burn more calories.
It does. It has a higher thermic effect than carbohydrates, which basically means that the body burns carbohydrates pretty easily. It doesn't take a lot of energy to release the energy in a carbohydrate, in a glucose molecule. The body's like, no problem. But protein is a little bit harder to burn. So the body actually uses energy to break that protein down into the amino acids and other elements that we can use. So only about 70% of the protein is used by the body. 30% of the protein is used to actually fuel the thermogenic process of breaking down the protein.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd heard of the thermic effect, but I didn't really know those details.
Yeah, approximately.
So we've both lost significant weight eating carnivore. We were like 30 pounds.
We're both at about 30 pounds.
I was about 30 pounds.
Yeah.
That's interesting because somehow losing all of that weight, we managed to also get stronger and muscles got a little bit bigger and more toned. So there is a body recomposition, which is the most important part of this whole thing. Because just losing body weight can be good or bad. It depends on what tissue you're losing. If you're losing fat mass, that's generally good for your health. If you're losing muscle mass or bone or brain's fat, but you don't want to lose fat from your brain.
You don't want to lose.
Unless you've got fatty brain.
Not the fatty brain.
Which we
again.
touched on in one of our recent episodes. Oh, that was the fake doctor episode.
Yes. Was I diagnosed with fatty brain?
Yeah, I know. I just said Lipitor was good for fatty brain because it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
By the way, in case you didn't notice, we are not health experts,
No.
health professionals, scientists in any way.
So the nice thing about carnivore is people who start it generally will lose body fat without losing a bunch of lean mass at the same time. And a lot of diet experts will say, oh, you just have to accept you're going to lose some lean mass. And either you'll lose not very much, or if you're fairly untrained, like you haven't been exercising, you've been very sedentary, you can probably gain some muscle mass at the same time you're losing fat.
I know my doctor keeps track of, in my 30-pound loss, he keeps track of how much lean mass I've lost. And like you just said, he expects to see a little bit of lean muscle loss with weight loss, but he's very careful to make sure that I am not losing too much lean mass.
Now, this is complete hearsay of other hearsay, but I've heard that when people do extended fasts, they'll of course lose a lot of water weight, they'll lose some fat, and they will lose some lean mass. But when they refeed, they tend to gain the muscle mass back fairly rapidly, but they don't gain the fat mass back unless they're, I guess, binging on carbs. Have you heard that?
I think I have, yeah.
That hearsay that I've heard?
The hearsay of the hearsay. You have certainly built a lot of muscle mass.
Yes.
And you do work out.
And when we say a lot of muscle mass, I'm not sitting here claiming to look like Dr. Chafee or Baker, but relative to how I used to, my body composition is much more muscular than it used to be.
It definitely is.
And I am much stronger. Now, I do resistance training, which obviously contributes to that, but the carnivore diet with all the protein that I'm eating contributes to recovery and building new muscle mass. And here I am in my early 50s, and normal people who aren't training and who are eating the SAD diet, every year they're losing more muscle mass as they get older. And I am at least gaining a little bit and certainly staying the same. But I expect that over the next decade, I can hold steady or make some gains.
And I've heard that muscles burn more calories.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And using that, muscles burn more energy. So we want to maintain it even to stay healthy, to stay vital, to stay active, but also that it helps with our metabolism.
At whatever age you're at, you want as much as you can healthfully gain so that the aging process doesn't diminish you unnecessarily, because muscle loss is sarcopenia, and that is partially what results in the elderly being frail and losing their independence. And for as long as we can, we want to stay vibrant, active, and independent.
So carnivore works. It works because of the insulin effect. It helps us build our lean muscle. It reduces inflammation.
It may or may not reduce the calories you consume.
May or may not. You want to make sure you're eating enough, though. Keep your metabolism stoked enough. And it's also tends to be very satisfying.
Right. So the satiety of carnivore eliminates all of that overeating, because with a few exceptions, it's very difficult to overeat steak and hamburger patties. And it tends to reduce cravings for carby foods that send you to the cupboard to snack at inopportune moments.
Which is why keto can sometimes be harder, is because keto, you're still having some carbs. You might be having sweeteners and fat bombs and that type of thing.
You might be having a keto chow.
And
once you've had one keto chow, you kind of want another one. I haven't had one in a long time.
No, I have one every now and again. But it sort of keeps those cravings. It can keep those cravings alive for some people. For some people, keto works great.
The Quest bar.
The Quest bar was not your friend.
No, that was an enabler.
So carnivore keeps it simple and takes that type of thing out of the diet, like you said, to reduce cravings. And then fat and protein just tend to be more satiating.
This is our second Why Carnivore Works video. We plan to have a series of these. That means that there will be a playlist of these, and I will put that playlist in the description below so you can watch all of these amazing videos of us speculating about why carnivore works. I'm Eric. I'm a novelist. I eat mostly meat.
I'm JJ. I'm a life coach, and I eat mostly meat.